Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Mars in major adverse aspect to the South Node in the natal horoscope. As most of you know, the South Node is associated with what we generally will emphasize and strongly accentuate in the first part of our lives, generally speaking, and then when we hit around age 30, it's kind of like a monotonous thing. It's kind of been there, done that, and we often divert to the North Node and go in that direction, not necessarily eradicating the South Node completely, but merely integrating it with the North Node at least somewhat. Now, Mars is connected with, we could look at it as action, energy, the assertive side of the person, aggression. It could also be associated with anger. It's connected with sex and our competitive zeal or drive. So anyway, the first thing I look at when I see this place, these aspects, is that you have the South Node obviously in conflict with Mars, and the Mars might be, person might want to take some action in a certain direction in their life, but the South Node may be somewhat precluding this, or vice versa. It could indicate that the person might be strongly dominated by the Mars, depending on the house and sign, where it kind of prevents the person from going with their South Node or doing things that are associated with their South Node energy. And obviously, when you have this conflict, it can cause some kind of exasperation and frustration, and anger can result, and acrimony can result because of this. And whenever you have like a negative aspect with Mars, I believe it can indicate, when you have this anger misdirected, it can indicate perhaps contentious relationships with others. I'm not saying everybody, but with certain people. If somebody has these aspects, it could indicate, like for a woman, perhaps the male sexual partner might be dominating this person's interests so much that maybe it precludes them from going along with their South Node, I guess you could say, that mission in that first part of their life. And if this is like a man that has these aspects can be perhaps fixated with themselves to some degree. Maybe they're obsessed with their own, I guess you could say, that masculine element or aspect of them, such as somebody that was fixated with, say, working out, for example, that maybe this is what perhaps prohibits him or her from going with the South Node as much as they would really like to. Now, let's take an example. If somebody has, say, the South Node in the 10th house and it's opposing Mars in the 4th house, well, a lot of the Martian energy would be directed into matters pertaining to their home and family life, and even their emotional security. And what happens is that having the South Node in the 10th, that's somebody that's more trying to accentuate and emphasize that perhaps the business or their career, livelihood, their status and recognition, but the matters with the family might kind of preclude them from doing this. And this is where you could see perhaps frustration would develop and exasperation because of having an opposition like this. Now, if we were to look at, say, the one thing about the opposition is that somebody that has an opposition between their South Node and Mars, that means that the North Node would be conjunct Mars. So on the positive end, in the latter part of the person's life, it can indicate that the person could use abundance of energy that would be put into their mission, or their, I guess you could say, that soul's mission or purpose in that second part of that person's life. So there would be some positive in this. Obviously, if you have the square aspect with the South Node to Mars, you would have the square aspect with the North Node to Mars. So if you look at it like that, that would be somewhat negative on both ends. But as far as the first part of the life and the latter. But on the positive side, when you have adverse or negative aspects, it does do one thing. It does prevent the person from becoming somewhat complacent or relaxed, and challenges can always be worked through. And really, what adverse aspects are about are mainly about challenges. So anyway, people, I look at this, and it could when you have Mars square the south node, it could also indicate that maybe the competitive side of the nature of the person might be somewhat misdirected, or that competitive side may go into things that maybe are not really that of significance, and really does not maybe help as far as development of the south node attributes, or their qualities. So, such as somebody pursuing maybe being competitive, say, in things that aren't really that important, say something which like, say, board games, for example, or video games, or that would be, some examples I can give you. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the South Node and major adverse aspect to Mars in a natal horoscope. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about the South Node conjunct Jupiter in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.